Hello, everybody, and welcome here today to another Kerfuffle Showcase. And I am delighted to have with me Justin and Richard from Pattinson Auctions. How are you, gents?
Very well, thank you very much indeed. And yourself?
Yeah, you're looking very relaxed. That's you're looking better than the last time I saw you. Yeah, you're looking good, guys. That's nice. That's good. Look, Pattinson's Auctions, obviously we know about them from within the industry, very strong brand. But here today, we're talking about, this is your chance to, for those people that don't know about you, we want to really get the full background about where the business came from, what it's doing for your clients at the moment, and hopefully what it can do for other agents that are out there. So if that's okay, just to start things off, who's going to kick me off with just give me a bit of background on where it all started?
I'm happy to do that one, Rich.
By all means, by the way, you've been here the longest.
So we started off with our auctions over 25 years ago now. So it's fair to say we've got a good bit of experience in both residential and commercial transactions. 2009. We decided we'd take the auctions outside of the northeast of England, and we did just that. And from 2010, it's fair to say that the business has grown from strength to strength. And recently, over the last few years, we've seen the business close to double in the number of transactions over the last few years, which is fantastic. And we couldn't have done that without all of the partners that we've got across the country already. And we're seeing the number of agents join us grow on a daily and weekly basis. So another thing to note, which I think is really important, is actually the conditional auction, which Keith Pattinson himself came up with just a little over 20 years ago, which has been widely used across the country now, been rebadged occasionally with the phrase the modern method of auction. Yep. But we still know that as the conditional sale, which fundamentally allows your residential homeowner to transact with the security that auction delivers.
Okay, cool. So you got that peace of mind, it's going to go through basically, but it's and you've actually been working that through for the last 2 decades then, have you, in terms of in the business itself?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's really interesting. And give us an idea then of kind of elevator pitch of what the service is about, what you're able to do for the agents themselves. How does it work? How much do you do? How much does the agent do? And just give us a bit of kind of context around that, if you don't mind.
Far away there. Well, in a nutshell, what we're trying to supply to all of our partners is a bolt-on facility without the need for them to employ additional staff, alter software in any way, extend office space. It's a complete free accessible service that we just attach their existing property service portfolio, allowing the partners to become, allowing estate agents in general to become more rounded as property professionals. Traditionally, agents stick to selling properties, renting properties, and auction's always been a little bit of a naughty word in regards to houses. It's all for the quintessential, when everyone thinks of homes under the hammer, what is typical auction. And we're just trying to make the auction option much more mainstream. In answer to another question you raised there, Simon, how do we do that? We're very much a case of a white to the eyes supplier. And by that, I mean, we have front of house staff that are actually out there visiting the partners on a regular basis. So the partners we work with feel as though they have got not just somebody at the end of the phone, but somebody they can actually meet regularly, personably, to actually understand exactly what their challenges are and how the facility, which incidentally can be an answer for many, many challenges estate agents face, can be utilized best for that particular agent. It's a white labeled, completely branded to the partners, individual partners. So it's giving individuality. As I said already, it's free. So it's not a case that we're going to be charging any subscriptions or we're going to be charging lump sums or any way, shape or form in regards to transactions, etc. from the agents. It's something that we're going to be supplying where we're going to be holding, in essence, the full weight of what the nuts and bolts of the auction represent. What we require our partners to be pretty much is the Saturday boys and girls, i.e. to take the pretty photographs, write the lovely words, the flowery words, and to oversee the viewings, the physical viewings. But we'll take care of every other aspect.
So do you think it's interesting that there's a few things there that's really stands out for me there is why it is crazy. Why is there still this vague stigma around the word auction? I've never understood it. I mean, I've been lucky enough to travel over to Australia and see how it's just absolutely standard there. And there's clearly no market forces that work better at getting the best price out of it that I've seen out there than an auction. Is this just some fuddy-duddy old stereotype that we have of auctions that we've still got to get through over here?
It's a bit of a double-edged sword, actually, because at the moment, there's a popular TV show on BBC One every morning, Homes Under the Hammer. Quintessentially offers a wet Stoke-on-Trent on a Tuesday morning with Dion Dublin walking around a rundown property. Yeah. And that conjures up what represents auction. With that said, Homes Under the Hammer has actually given auction a little bit of a springboard to gain some traction in regard to market share. And it has helped us, those sort of shows. They do help us because it means auction appears more accessible to the masses. You say about the stereotypes, unfortunately, a lot of agents still harbor those stereotypes what represents auction. And because there's probably a little bit, for want of a better word, naivety, ignorance, what constitutes how auction works and what constitutes what is an auction property, some agents tend to shy away from it. And that's where we're there to fit in, to assist, to hold the hand, to educate without being patronizing, but to educate and to assist them and to help them add an additional sales tool to their, as I said before, their service portfolio.
And that's a really interesting point, isn't it? Sorry, were you going to say something then?
Yeah, I was just going to sort of add on there. I think education is one of the biggest challenges that certainly we experience from an agent's perspective. Yeah. If we can sort of help the agents understand why and how auction can really benefit their clients and also ultimately their business too, but not forgetting the benefits to a buyer, then I really think we can see it move on to the next level. And hopefully we can, over the coming months and years, really continue to educate buyers, sellers and agents to use it more readily. But you look at some of the properties we've sold in recent days and weeks, between £1 million and £2 million and upwards of £2 million over recent months. And they're not one a month or one a week. There's numbers of those types of properties that we're selling. And it's not just about the value actually of those properties, because it's the style. We're regularly selling expensive properties further south, but also across the country, Mr. and Mrs. Blogs family home. Every day we're selling that type of property.
Definitely. And that's the thing which we champion all the time, is because we're all about success, because we're a bolt-on facility. And because we're all about giving our partners the recognition, we don't put a Pattinson soul board outside the front door of a property that we sell. It's all about the partner we work with. It's their soul board. But what we do, we compile the successes and we share those to spread the word of what auction can do. And when you do speak, it is encouraging because you have more and more conversations now with agents who are willing to listen because they recognize competitors on the high street are using auction more. They recognize the corporates, for example, all the corporates out there on the high street, the big mammoth estate agents, they're now harboring more auction listings. And it's down to the independent agent, which quintessentially we work mostly with. Pretty much all our partners are your bread and butter, independent high street estate agents with good reputations. And it's about giving them the ability to compete and to go on a valuation, being confident that if they're up against a previous valuation, as mentioned, auction, they too can say, well, hang on, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I can do exactly the same.
Got that in your kit bag. Yeah, you've got that in your kit bag, haven't you, as well? And the couple of key things stand out there as well. You've already spoke about it. Is there? This isn't an expensive service that you're asking them to commit to and everything else. Unless you deliver for them, there's no money changing hands, is there? From what you've just said there.
No, everything that we offer within our service we pay the agents to utilize the service. There's no subscription. We pay very generous fees to the estate agents and our partners. So no big subscriptions.
And then the second thing is you obviously got the boards, breeding boards. So as you said, it's all about still the agent themselves, getting that out there and everything else. People are going to be talking over the dinner table at the fees you will have probably got for them, better fees, achieved at auction as well. So there's going to be a soft effect of that getting out into the marketplace and everything else. But I think the critical thing is whilst we've been used to, okay, maybe less recently, but people have been, agents themselves have been obsessed about the market share, growing market share of the online agents. And, you know, barely a conversation was able to be had with an agent 5 years ago without the old, you know, purple bricks coming up and everything else. But what was interesting in the background that was actually changing the industry far more was the number of auctions increasing month on month, year on year, wasn't it there? And not being volatile like the online agents, but consistently going north. And I think the advantage that you've got as well going is it's not like that you're anywhere near a glass ceiling, are you, in terms of what you can achieve on that basis? So people can very much still get into this whilst it's delivering on a massive level as it is for your clients at the moment.
100%. And it's interesting you said there, actually, Simon, because we're of the firm belief that pretty much 10% of at any one time of available stock could be, should be, would be useful and utilized by the auction method. It really would, because it's about just changing the mindset, and don't just get fixated with the agents on price, because as estate agents, it's very easy to become fixated on what the seller wants is the highest price all the time. And broadly speaking, that is correct. The seller does want to get the best price value, the best value where they possibly can. But ultimately, it's about having that conversation with the seller, really truly understanding what their motivations and expectations are in order to get the property sold. And there's so many. I mean, lists longer than both my arms in regards to circumstances when the facility that we provide can just be utilized. And we get sellers all the time. It's so thankful, because we offer that speed, we offer that transparency, and of course we offer the security, which you don't necessarily get in relation to private treaty sales.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I suppose it's one of the main blockers then for people who haven't got into this. They just don't know where to get started. Is that what you think it is? It's literally, that feels like, you know, a bit of a dark art or something there, and that's where, of course, they need you holding their hands to show them how to get the most out of it.
I think it's a confidence thing with a lot of people. They just haven't got the confidence to take that leap and go, I need to use an auction service. I need to use the right auction service. Sometimes perhaps it's a bit of control. They don't want to release any control over their vendors.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that we can educate people and explain how it works, where we fit in, where they fit in. If they want us to do more or less, we can do that. We're not a one-size-fits-all service.
Okay.
We will literally tailor our service to the agent, but also we'll tailor the right auction package to the seller as well, because that isn't a one-size-fits-all.
No.
You know, we go back to what we started with around the conditional auction. You know, we pioneered the concept of conditional auction. So, yeah, we're pretty good at putting that into practice, but we offer conditional and unconditional, or for want of a better phrase, modern or traditional.
Yes.
So certainly there, I think as far as agents utilizing an auction service, in a lot of instances, it's a confidence thing.
Okay. And you mentioned, obviously, you mentioned there that you have a consultative approach almost there in terms of how you can do it. That clearly there are other auction companies out there. Where is that one of the key differences, that it's not a one size fits all with you? Are there other ways that you stand out from the other providers at the moment?
100%. One thing I would say is, no matter what the marketplace is, whether it's auction, whether it's selling cars, whether it's selling lollipops, you need competitors. As we touched upon at the beginning of this conversation, is over the last 5 to 10 years, auction is steadily growing in regards to market share, especially online auction.
Yeah.
And that's not just because, as much as we think, you know, I say we think we know we're the best. We champion our facility, our service, but competitors doing the same as well. That helps shine a spotlight on what auction is and what it represents, which does, you know, whet the appetite with agents. In relation to what we do above and beyond what our competitors do and what we can see, there's two main USPs that we probably do. We champion a lot when we're speaking to our agents, is what we call property passback schemes, which is where we work with a lot of agents who source properties from other methods other than what high street traditional agents do, and rather than harboring themselves and keep them, you know, being selfish and keeping those listings, we'll share those back with our partners. And the other great scheme we have, which is really very, very popular, is our right to sell scheme, which enables all of our partners to introduce purchasers to any property that we're marketing for auction anywhere in the UK and generate a fee from it. We're the only auction company out there that offers that facility, and it is very popular. And it's just overnight, an agent signs up with us and they've instantly got access to hundreds more properties which they can introduce buyers to and get fees from.
That's a really interesting angle. That so you're leveraging the power of your network to deliver those benefits back to them, as well as obviously in a market where we're desperately looking for buyers and everything else. Okay, that's fascinating. And just to talk again, then I like what you're saying there. So what I think is absolutely true. Probably your competitor isn't, of course, you compete in the marketplace there, but it's actually those agents that for whatever reason they haven't got auction on their mind, and the more that they hear it from other people, the more they hear every success story, actually just helps each of you, doesn't it? Really there, and where you will all obviously be in a very good place is where 20% of the market, 30% of the market is going. Can I just ask you a question just on that though, because I think you just said there, Justin, you mentioned that there's about 10% of stock was going through at any one time. What? Not all properties. I think everyone says not all properties are right for auction. What properties should go to auction? Which properties shouldn't go to auction? Is it about the motivation of the vendor? Is it about the price point? What is it down to?
You converted, Simon, say, because you mentioned about the property, which property, and that's where lots of agents get bogged down, and lots of the general public get bogged down as well in relation to going back to what we said before. What constitutes an auction listing is not about the property. It's all about the client. It's all about the seller, motivations, expectations, and aspirations. That's it. It's all about the seller. Any property can sell at auction, as Justin alluded to earlier in relation to some swanky 2-bed duplex apartments overlooking the Thames we recently sold, for well in excess of $1 million.
Thanks for doing that for me, by the way. It was a great job there.
to 4-bedroom detached residences in Cheshire. We're selling them all. So it is about the property.
So that's old school.
The seller rather than the property.
That's old school. The best trainers out there, Julian O'Dell would always lambast the fact that you went on the phone doing his mystery shopping to agents, and you could hear them going through the very formulaic, what's in the CRM software, what's your name, what's your address, what's your postcode. And he says you need to get straight into there and understand their motivation. Everything follows from that point of view, and that is where the conversations need to flow then, isn't it, for them to diagnose properly which route they should go down.
100%. It's about the conversation. It's just going back to being estate agents again. When we've all worked in the high street as estate agents, when you have you talk back in the day to open up conversations, not talk about yourself and not talk about us, what we can do for you, but what am I here for today? What is it you're looking for? What is it? The price? Is it the speed? What's the backstory behind the property? I did mention before about we firmly believe that 10% of stock at any one time on the market could be suitable for auction. Granted, we can look at properties on any agent's website and say, well, that would be good for auction, that would be good for auction, just by a very one-dimensional search of historical listings, if properties look empty, if properties look by the photographs look like they're probate and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But it's where we partner with our agents. We're very, and I say this to Justin sometimes a lot, and I do say this to our BDMs, we've got to maintain a little bit of fluffiness about our approach with our agents, put our arm around the shoulder to help them, because we are an addition to their staff, even though we're not on the payroll necessarily. We're there to help them, and it is about just, if we can identify properties, perhaps it may just trigger something in the agent's mind to think, actually that one won't work, but this one possibly will.
Is a natural trigger though, if a property has been on the market for a considerable period of time, shouldn't that point towards a giving auction a go, or am I being too simplistic?
In my mind, why not? Because the different voice, that's a big player as well. And we do say this to agents, because agents can, more often than not, if a property's on the market for a lengthy period of time, it's probably because the pricing is not necessarily accurate where it should be sitting. Perhaps if we can have a conversation, we may not get that listing to auction, but we may be doing our partner a favor by just having another voice knocking away at the seller's head in regards to what the pricing should be. And it may be doing the partner a favor, and that doesn't bother us at all, because we very much look like we very much respect that a partnership, the best partnerships are two-way relationships. Yeah. And if we can help and assist, we can. If we do manage to list that property for auction, let us do the nuts and bolts. Let us have those awkward conversations. Let us have the nitty-gritty chit chat with the seller to see if we can get that pricing down. Because ultimately, we're going to give the seller the guarantees via auction that they won't get via private treaty. I.e., as soon as we get a bid that's acceptable, we can exchange contracts. Whereas in private treaty, you get an offer, it's acceptable, you're just agreeing a sale. You then got 3 months, at least 3 months of aggravation.
I was going to say 3 months if you're lucky, and you've got. I mean, one of the key elements there is turning around your pipeline with people with like your good selves. It's just 10 times easier, isn't it?
Exactly that.
Absolutely. Just going back to those properties that be on the market, I think it's fair to say, Richard, that some of the biggest successes we have are where agents utilize the service on the front line at valuation stage, new to the market, going straight down this auction route to give that seller a secure sale in a fixed time scale. And ultimately, we're paying that agent as soon as the sale's agreed, because it's exchanging straight away in many instances.
Got you. And what's the process in terms of, it sounds like there's such a lot there, you're holding their hands, you're helping them, with advice on the properties there. What is the onboarding process? If somebody really, like say, they come and have the conversation with you, they love the commercials, they like the idea of obviously getting that certainty and security there, what happens next?
I think that's probably where we're quite unique. We've got a really structured onboarding process with our partners. And we've got a really good platform for the agents to use once they come on board to get the full benefit of the service. So what does it look like? So the initial conversations have been had and the agent agrees, yeah, we definitely want to go down this route. We're going to partner with you. And I think partner, being the key word there.
That is a key point there, Justin. I was going to say this before, isn't it? The industry, from our side, is split into two and it is that classic Pareto 80-20. You've got 80% of the industry that are suppliers, and you've got 20% that are partners, aren't they? But if a company like your good self can't be included in that partners thing, fighting their corner, only paying out money when you've done the job and everything else there, that's a big tick in the box, isn't it, for where you guys come from?
100%. But once they've agreed and they've agreed terms with us and they come on board, they'll have a dedicated business development manager who will hold their hand, put an arm around them, and all of their staff to take them through the initial training process, system training, product training. At that point, they'll be introduced to their auction manager, who will be looking after them from start to finish on a day-to-day basis. We then it's nice to do an introduction to the team that manager looks after, because an agent will have their in-field business development manager, they'll have their auction manager centrally in our head office, and then they've got the dedicated team to support them within that area. So that's probably the initial onboarding process, but it doesn't stop there, because they'll be getting regular visits face to face from the business development team in the field, and they'll be having regular contact from the central team here to discuss potential properties to refer, to discuss updates on live properties that have gone into auction, properties that have been referred in the past. Then it moves on to the sales progression team that we've got, which is something else that we do for them. We'll see the sale right the way through, from that sale being agreed through to completion. So there's no progression for the agent to do, but our sales progression team will keep the local agent informed from start to finish with that transaction on a regular basis. And obviously they've got a dedicated account within the sales progression team that they can make contact with for any ad hoc updates that they need above and beyond what they're getting on a weekly basis. So I think the support that we give the agents is probably second to none. We would say that, but I think we've got some really strong partners who I think would endorse the fact the service and support they get end to end is exactly what they need.
Well, that's been very clear. So you've been kind enough to introduce me to a few of your clients, and listening to this, I always pay attention when I hear it from the clients themselves talking about it. It was there. You gave me a walk around of the fantastic setup there, and I remember being really impressed. And then finally that point, you've invested and doubled down in the tech that ultimately helps support and handhold those agents as well, isn't it? So there's a lovely angle there where not only are you holding their hands to get live, but you keep going with them down the line to help them get the most out of the service. Sorry, could you say
I was just going to add to Justin's comments there, and of course that's all backed up again, going back to the concept of the facility, which is the white labeling as well. So not only just getting the support in regards to our staff resource thrown at them and put behind them and stand level with them, but also it's the white label materials that we supply to them as well, which is your tangible auction guides that can be shared with sellers, crib sheets, lots of different marketing campaigns. If an agent has an idea, we will gladly and hope support them on that, and also websites as well. There's microsites which allows all of our partners to have their own tailored, bespoke, branded bidding platform, which could be added to their own website. So, and that goes back to, like I said before, in regards to our right to sell. So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer sitting at home in their dining room on the dining room table can go on to ZYZ estate agents bidding platform, bid on a property, buy that property. ZYZ estate agents who partner with us will then get a fee from that, even though they had no input with that buyer whatsoever. Nice. So it's really dovetailed very nicely the way we put the facility together. Lots of other ideas we've got in our minds and our heads as well, which we want to put into fruition in the coming weeks and months. But yeah,
you'll obviously hear that first on Kerfuffle.
Of course, without a shadow of a doubt.
Just wanted to be clear.
Headlines to be seen here.
Good stuff. And I mentioned it before. What do your clients say about you? What are you most proud of that your clients do give you feedback on?
I think we have two clients, don't we? We've got the agents, fundamentally are our clients, but also we have to look at the sellers as our client as well, because we've got to make sure we give great service to them. Great service will deliver more opportunities. But the biggest thing I hear, if I'm honest, is about the team, the staff that we have. We're quite proud about the team we've got. Our staff retention, touch wood, is very, very good. So they've not got lots of different faces. But the compliments that we get from buyers, sellers, and agents is the service that they are receiving from the team in the field, in the head office here, is on the whole very, very good.
Excellent.
I suppose, if I can add to that as well, I think it's also the education process again, because buyers and sellers, we say about agents not being au fait with auction, and it's the same can be said for buyers and sellers. And lots of the feedback you get specifically from buyers is how simple and how easy it was. And over the recent months where we've had a marketplace which has seen a lack of stock and what properties are coming into the market, it's snapped up very quickly. Buyers are securing properties, having their bid accepted, exchanging contracts immediately, which means they're securing their properties, taking away all the headaches, all the possible heartache as well. And buyers are actually wax lyrical about the facility when they're securing properties very, very quickly.
It's Richard, that's absolutely critical. We can get caught up in our own little world here, can't we? And people who are only, buying, selling a home every 5, 10, 15 years, you can't, unless you're an investor, it's very hard to become an expert at this kind of thing. And there is a level of fear and doubt and, still about the whole process. I mean, the idea of change, you try and explain the concept of change to people, go, and they just can't get their heads around it. I mean, it's got to be said, pretty much anyone else around the world who comes and has a look at our property market can't really understand the whole thing there. But that wonderful certainty that you got from auction, by definition, as you said, is going to impress those buyers, isn't it?
I hope so. And it seems to be working.
And the other thing is there as well, you've reminded me that quite often I get very, look, we always, from a suppliers want to do, we want to do right by our estate agency clients. But actually, we can miss the ultimate client, can't we? What is it doing for their clients, the agent's own clients? And that's got to be worth double, hasn't it? If we're hearing vendors and agents coming back and giving that feedback, that's showing then really more than anything else that you're doing the job right.
100%, and that is what it's key to our business, really, isn't it? Is regards to the customer service, in regards to making sure that we are facilitating a service for the agents. We don't lose sight, Simon, of the fact that the most of the clients that we work with have been referred to us from agents, from our partners.
Got you.
And whilst they'll be in an agreement with ourselves because of our auction terms, it's still our partner's client as well. So we've got, we really have to be, I suppose, everyone, a member of the team has to be aware and focused that we are servicing two different people in regards to a brand of the agent that referred that client to us, and of course the client themselves.
Well, I'm definitely nicking it off Justin there. Was it it's not quite great with great responsibility, or with great power comes great responsibility, but great service, great opportunities. I definitely like that. So I'm having that one. I'm having that one off you.
I'll send you invoice later.
So, I mean, looking at it in the nuts and bolts, if you can put any context around it, what do things like clearance rates look like? What's the revenue that can be earned? Can you give any flavour around that, or is it too just dependent on where you are in the country?
Yeah, I think obviously to talk about individual fees it's difficult, but naturally it's all driven by the property price. But yeah, we pay up to 2.5% of the sale price to agents. So depending on your location in the country, there's up to that. But also depends.
Not many agents getting fees like that at the moment, are there?
Absolutely not. No, some of the fees that you're hearing at the moment are worrying, I suppose, to a certain degree. But it certainly is. We're not about a race to the bottom. For us, it's about providing a great service. We give great fees back to our partners, and it's really about the individual needs for an agent, and we will tailor the package and the product and the package that we're offering the agent will be and can be tailored to anything to work around what the existing products we've got. Yeah. It almost sounds like complicated, but we've got lots of different auction offerings, and I go back to it not being a one size fits all. So what fees are available to agents? The sky's the limit, really. The more they put into the service, the more they're going to get out of it. Up to 2.5%, depending on location.
Again, sometimes you get that Pareto thing in your client base. What do the best of your clients do? How do they work with you to get the most out of the service? Are there any kind of similar traits to those businesses? I mean, other than, I suppose, they will clearly listen to your advice. What else is there out there that the best of your clients get out of it?
I suppose, if I'm reading your question correctly, it does vary from different types of agents. As I said before, we predominantly, well, pretty much 99% of our agents are independent. Some are one branch, some are multiple branches, up to 30 offices, 40 offices, etc. The larger offices tend to target, so the auction facility becomes part of their staff, I suppose, their staff's focus. Okay, yeah, their KPIs. It's part of their staff's focus, and those agents tend to get a very good return. But then you've got the smaller, say the one branch of agency, where if they've got it, if they've grasped it, what it is we can give them and give their clients, they'll just all the time refer the right property to us, and every property they send to us will be selling at auction, and it will, because they know what works, they know when the client is correct, they know what the pricing should be to get it sold quickly for that particular client. I mean, another thing on that as well, because where we have a lot of our successes is some of the agents which have never dabbled with commercial properties before. And our commercial department over the last 3 years has seen phenomenal growth, because lots of those independent agents have shied away from commercial, not really too sure how to value it, not really too sure what's required from me as the estate agent to market it. Pass it to Pattinson Auction. We'll have that conversation. We're Ricks. We can have the discussions with the seller. We can get that property sold for you. So some of our successful agents are just seeing other avenues where they can generate additional revenue, which they've never identified before, because they're not given that opportunity.
That really makes sense to me. So people, one of the best businesses I ever dealt with, was Romans, and Dale there had created that multi-departmental, obviously, approach where you can tap into all the other opportunities, and the cross referrals there just has that. And you're giving them that ability to tap into it, again, given your expertise, aren't you? That's there. Am I right in thinking isn't there also a compliance angle here? But I'm right in thinking it is the duty of every agent to offer as many different styles of sale as possible, isn't it? So that, at the moment, I don't really believe most of them are abiding by that, are they?
Would you like me to reach for the copy of the Estate Agents Act 1979, Sam? I can thumb through the relevant page if you wish. No, you're correct. That is
it'd be the first time I'd seen it, so don't worry.
No, that's you've hit the nail on the head, and it is something that, and it's not because there's anything sinister there, but from agents just not fulfilling what they should be doing necessarily. It's because it's just over a matter of time. Agents get drawn into, I've got to go there, I've got to value the property, give them the best valuation in regards to the highest price they can, without actually, again, going back to understanding exactly what the client is after, what they're seeking, what they're looking for. And agents will be surprised as to how many of their customers, so how many of their sellers are just probably looking for the speed and the certainty above the top price. They're willing to, take a couple of percent, 3, 4, 5, 6, even 10%, 20% in some instances, below what is deemed as market value to get that security of a quick sale.
I'm going to ask you, thank you for that. I do always love a bit of compliance and a bit of a detail. That's the sort of guy I am. Can I ask you a question that might be putting you on the spot? Do we actually believe that this, if there is a blockage of sorts, is in the agent's mind rather than the mind of the public? Because I have a perception that is the case. I think actually the public are far more receptive to this if communicated in the right way than we probably think they are.
Yeah. What? Agreed. 100%. And I speak to the business development managers regularly, and when they approach prospect agents in regard to discuss our facility with them, lots of agents, some of the feedback is straight away the agent will come back, my clients won't go for that. Properties in this area too expensive and too nice for that.
We've never worked like that.
One-liners. Yeah, it's the same old one-liners and strap lines you get back from the agents. And it's like, have you asked your clients? Lots of clients, when they invite an estate agent in to value their property, they see that despite the reputation a lot of us estate agents have got over, as an industry, they invite the estate agent in for advice as they are the property professional, and use that title as the property professional. Don't be afraid as an estate agent to discuss the options available to a seller, because all it's going to do is help you look like a much better professional in your industry, in your field.
Well, because you said auctions there, I'm going to go back in with my Aussie, my Aussie story. So I mentioned there going over there to Australia, and one of the things that, when you see it working so well there, and it's fair to say it's down the East Coast. It's not everywhere, but it is obviously the majority of ones that there. And I remember talking to Marshall White, who one of the powerhouse Melbourne agents who helped sort of create it. And I asked the question. He said, "You're getting this all wrong." When he's looked at the UK, he said, "You think that you think we've always done this. We had to educate the market over 10 and 20 years, and now we're at the stage where we are." But it took a long time to do. But when we were there, the auction methodology, as we know, is the fairest and best way to achieve the best price. It can only win in the long run, can't it? And I think what you're showing here with your 2,000 plus agents, I think you said, the average fee when we were talking was around £7,000 across the entire nation and everything else there, back to the agents themselves. This is something that people need to get on their radar this year, don't they? But I'm preaching to the converted, aren't I?
You are, but it is about the education, Fred. It will take time, and it comes back to, all properties for auction are legally prepared. Yep. So it allows buyers to do their due care and diligence prior to even visiting a property if they want to. They can download legal packs, which we supply free of charge, upfront, free of charge. Okay, so another cost taken away for a seller. So nothing ventured, nothing gained for the client there in regards to the seller. Another making it easier pedal for the estate agent to promote the auction route. So properties are legally prepared. Yeah. Why would you not want to consider a property that's legally prepared over a property that you've then got to negotiate, get an offer accepted? Then, as I said, you then fire the starting gun to get that process underway. Auction it's such a simple way of selling property. It's cleaner, it's straighter, And it's just that mindset, and it is going back. If we can get more agents on board, and thankfully there's more and more partners coming to us, and the same with our competitors as well. If we can continue that learning curve for the agents, and they're happy to discuss it and talk about it with their clients, as we progress in another 5, 10, 15 years time, we probably will be saying there is a much healthier share of the market is down to auction.
I feel like getting up and saluting that. That was really powerful. Look, guys, thank you very much. I think that's really dispelled some of the misconceptions there. I think, you know, you've obviously, I already know many of your clients. We're getting them coming on it over the coming weeks and months as well, talking in more detail about it. But, you know, for today, guys, thank you very much for giving us an overview of this, and we look forward to catching up over the coming months.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks for your time, Simon. Much appreciated.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Simon. Cheers.